The stagecoach rattled over the last stretch of dry, sun-baked road before stopping in a cloud of ochre dust. The driver tipped his hat toward the woman inside. "End of the line, ma'am. Miller Creek Ranch." Lydia Hart stepped down, clutching a small carpet bag and the letter that had brought her here. Her boots sank slightly into the dirt. The wide valley spread before her, gold fields, wind curling through tall grass, the faint creak of corral gates. She'd expected to be greeted by a family, maybe an older woman with a kind smile. Instead, only the silence of noon answered. From the barn came a man's voice, low and steady, giving orders to someone unseen. A tall cowboy emerged, wiping sweat from his brow. He had the kind of stillness that spoke of long days alone under the sun. A revolver rested at his hip and a horse trailed behind him. "You lost, miss?" he asked. "I'm looking for the Miller Creek Ranch. I was told I'd been hired here to help with the child." The man frowned. "You sure you've got the right place?" She unfolded the letter. "It says Miller Creek Ranch, care of Mr. Thomas Grady." "That's my name," he said slowly. "But I didn't send for anyone." The wind seemed to still. Lydia's heart sank. She'd traveled 3 days from Kansas City, everything she owned in that carpet bag. If this wasn't where she was expected, then she had nowhere. "Maybe there's been a mistake," she murmured. Thomas Grady looked at her, dust on her hem, tired eyes, but a steady chin. Something about her posture said she'd faced worse. "Well, miss, mistakes or not, sun's too high to send you back down the road. You can come in for water at least." Inside the ranch house, the air smelled faintly of pine soap and old leather. A half-sewn curtain hung at one window. On the mantel stood a single photograph, a woman holding a baby. Lydia's throat tightened. The woman's smile was soft, full of life. "That was my wife," Thomas said quietly when he noticed her gaze. "She passed 2 years ago." Lydia nodded, words caught in her chest. From the hallway came a small voice. "Papa?" A little girl appeared, no older than 5, curls tumbling over her shoulders. She rubbed her eyes, blinking at the stranger in her house. "Hello there," Lydia said softly, kneeling a bit. "You must be Mary." The girl studied her for a moment, then did something that made both adults freeze. She stepped forward, wrapped her tiny arms around Lydia's neck and whispered, "Mama." Thomas's jaw tensed. "Mary." "She doesn't. She knows her mama's gone." But the child clung tighter. Lydia felt the warmth of her tears against her shoulder. "It's all right," she said gently. "She's just tired." That evening, as the sky flamed orange behind the hills, Lydia sat on the porch while Thomas repaired a fence post. She told him about the orphanage she'd come from, how she'd been promised work as a caretaker for a ranch family in Montana. The letter, sealed and stamped, had carried this address. Thomas shook his head. "Sounds like someone mixed up the mail." "Seems that way," she said, tracing the worn paper. "Still, I can cook, mend, and teach. If you need help till I sort things out." He hesitated. "I could use someone to mind Mary. She's lonely." Lydia smiled faintly. "Then maybe this mistake isn't such a bad one." Over the next days, Miller Creek began to change. The house smelled of biscuits again. Mary's laughter filled the yard, chasing chickens while Lydia mended shirts by the porch. Thomas watched from a distance at first, wary of the softness returning to his world. But he couldn't deny it. The woman who had arrived by mistake carried a calm that felt like healing. One evening, a neighbor rode up, Mr. Calloway, the mail courier. He handed Thomas a second envelope, addressed to Miss Lydia Hart, Cattleman's Rest Ranch. Thomas looked at her. "That's 30 miles east. Seems that's where you were meant to go." Lydia unfolded the paper slowly. Inside was a contract of employment and a note offering double wages. Her heart pounded. She could finally earn enough to buy her own homestead one day. Mary tugged at her skirt. "You ain't leaving, are you?" Lydia knelt, brushing a curl from the girl's cheek. I was sent to the wrong ranch, sweetheart." Mary's eyes brimmed. "But God sent you right." Thomas turned away, pretending to tighten his gloves. When he spoke, his voice was low. "You can stay as long as you need, Miss Hart, till you decide what's right." That night, under a sky of scattered stars, Lydia stood by the fence where it had all begun. The horse shifted softly nearby. Maybe fate didn't always send letters to the right address, but sometimes The heart delivered itself exactly where it was meant to be.